like to share a story from my book, Gifting and the Stick. It's about a special dog called Fritz. As they say, a dog is supposed to be a man's best friend, but Fritz was a lot more than that, as you will see. Fritz, according to Webster's dictionary, is a term whose origin is unknown. The word's meaning is defined as a state of disorder or disrepair. We needed a dog for the upcoming pheasant hunt, so my brother Lane, a member of the Orem Fire Department, asked Ralph, the local dog catcher, to be on the lookout for a likely candidate. Days went by with no prospects in sight. Then the night before opening day, Ralph delivered Fritz. The old dog, a German short-haired pointer, was definitely down on his luck. Like the old saying, Fritz hadn't had a square meal since Old Ring. An ageless dog was a pup. Ralph was apologetic. Sorry I couldn't come up with something better. If his nose and pointer are on the Fritz, just put him out of his misery. The words were no sooner uttered than the dog cocked his leg and sprinkled on Ralph's boot and pant leg. Needless to say, that part of the old hound was not on the Fritz. That act, however, won the instant admiration and applause of the fire station crew, and naturally they dubbed him Fritz. Ralph left muttering something like, "The SOB was supposed to be man's best friend." Fritz got a hero's welcome, and when the crew shared supper with him, he showed his appreciation by letting off the frankest farts ever known at Station 1. Attempts to remove him from beneath the table were met with a low growl. We loaded old Fritz into the trunk of my '55 Chevy and headed down the highway toward the old hometown and surrounding fields. We hadn't been on the road long when the foulest odor known to man and beast filled the cab. After first accusing each other, we finally determined that old Fritz was trying to tell us something. The windows came down, but only briefly. It was too cold. Besides, the draft from the open windows seemed to suck in more of the foul air from the trunk. We decided that we'd bring the dog up front in hope that a partially open window would spare us the burning nostrils and itching eyes. As soon as Fritz was snuggled on the floor in front of the heater, the farts stopped and the window could go up. Fritz always rode in the front after that. Once we took to the field, we soon discovered what we'd begun to suspect. This was no ordinary dog. Fritz took over the hunt. He investigated every bit of cover, every place a pheasant might hide. His point was textbook perfect. Always, the dog stayed at just the right distance and hunted for everyone behind him. He retrieved down birds with hardly a ruffled feather. A wave of the hand, a word, and he complied in robot-like fashion. By mid-morning, Fritz could tinkle wherever he wanted and fart any time he wanted. Somehow, that side of the dog's personality could be tolerated in exchange for the servant-like, almost benevolent transformation in the field and on the hunt. It was like old Fritz was saying, "Okay, I'll hunt and do the dirty work, but you guys know who's in charge. If you want to dance, you got to pay the fiddler." By noon, Fritz had done his part, and we had our limit of birds. As soon as the last bird was delivered, Fritz headed for the ranch. I think he could count and knew we were done. The next day we went back to the fields. We were working some sagebrush and saltgrass when the local warden, Tut-Tut, appeared on the scene. Due to his sneaky ways, Tut-Tut wasn't the best liked game warden. He wasn't known as much of a hunter either. Word had it among the locals that the only thing he'd ever killed was a six-pack. In fact, someone marked the spot of that feat by inscribing words to that effect on an aspen tree in 6 Mile Canyon. Now Tut Tut knew that every one of us had a license to hunt. He'd checked that out several times on the just completed elk and deer hunts. Still, he stopped our current hunt to check your licenses, boys. Old Fritz had been letting us know that birds were in front of us. When birds were close, his tail went crazy. At the precise moment Warden Tut Tut stopped the hunt, Fritz went on point. Ordinarily, he would have held that point until the cows came home. This time, however, after locking on the bird for several minutes, he pounced on the rooster and delivered it to us. About that time, Warden Tut Tut made a big mistake. He commented, "That scroungy old mutt got a hunting license? I could arrest and jail him, you know." Knowing some of the tales about Tut Tut's attempts to make an arrest, we dummied up. But not old Fritz. He just circled in behind the warden and lifted his leg. Funny thing happened after that. As long as the old dog was with us, Tut Tut never bothered to check our licenses again. Well, there you have it. Like I said, Fritz was more than just man's best friend. He was genius, had intuition, and second-guessed everybody along the way.